says there, everyone is welcome and locked here. We'll go ahead and get started with this intervention since it's working today. ahead and go over the triple refuge. Budam Saranam Gashami. Dhamam Saranam Gashami. Sangam Saranam Gashami. Now, let's go ahead and welcome the Buddhas to our temple. We respectfully welcome Amida Buddha to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome the Buddhas of all times and places to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. Now the 6 paramitas. Giving, may I be generous and helpful. Guidance, may I be guided by the Buddhist precepts. Tolerance, may I regard the mistakes of others with sympathy. Perseverance, may I do my best in all things. Meditation, may I reflect deeply on my life through the Buddha's teachings. Insight, may I understand the meaning of Namu Amida Butsu. Now the Bodhisattva vows. The many beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to abandon them. Dharma gates are countless. I vow to wait to them. Buddha's way is unsurpassed. I vow to embody it fully.
Enlightenment is something that's a lifelong process. It continually happens.
Alright. Now, beloved Sangha, we have arrived at the 6th step in our sacred journey through the Noble Eightfold Path. We've explored right view, intention, speech, action, and livelihood. Today we embrace right effort, the art of applying energy in a way that nurtures healing, not burnout. And also, I want to address last week, I went ahead and said that in a couple weeks Erin would be back. Her flight's been delayed, so it's looking like she's going to be back closer to the 20th. So they'll have me for a few more weeks. My name is Quinn, for those of you who don't know. Alright. So now, we'll go over right effort. Right effort asks us to move gently but intentionally, to release laziness but also let go of harsh striving, to find that sacred middle path where effort becomes devotion, not depletion. The Buddha described 4 right efforts. Prevent unwholesome states from arising, abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen, cultivate wholesome states not yet arisen, and maintain wholesome states already within you. Right effort is like tending a sacred garden. You pull weeds without violence. You water the soil without flood. You show up at each day, not for perfection, but for presence. Ask yourself this week, am I pushing too hard? Am I giving up too easily? Or am I showing up with steady, loving energy? Right effort is not forcing your path. It is flowing with your path. It is not about fixing yourself, but feeding what is good within you. Now we'll go ahead and start to move on to our meditation and breath work. So this is a meditation chant to help connect with the divine strongly. We'll go ahead and feel free to join along with this video.
Namaste. So I want to share something with you that can help you during meditation, breath work, mindfulness, just to still your mind, quiet yourself, and allow more access to hear your higher self. Yogena Tutasha Bode Nuvatra Travasadi Kena Yopakurat Dim Rabadam Bhagidam Patenvoliyam.
And before we get started, we'll go ahead and remove any blockages you have. So just go ahead and bring those to the forefront. Anything that you're struggling with, anything that you're having a hard time over, anything that's distracting you. Hello, welcome in. Just to let you guys know, we're having a live temple service right now, so if you don't want to get on camera, just don't walk this way. But you can go ahead and look around if you like. Alright. Okay, so now we're moving on to breath work. Now, for those of you who don't know, we practice the infinity breath, which essentially starts with breathing out all the stale energy for like a lower loop. And then you hold in your center. And then you breathe in bright, beautiful crater light. And then you hold once more. And then you breathe out for that bottom loop again, but this time you're just circulating that energy. And then you hold in your center, and then you repeat that pattern. Now, for this particular breathwork session, as we breathe, we are going to have the intention as we inhale, I breathe in balance, and as we exhale, I release extremes. So just go ahead and do a few breaths like that. Inhale, I breathe in balance. Exhale, I release extremes. And as you do, you can go ahead and visualize a small, steady flame in your heart. Not too wild, but not too far. Let your breath, keep it burning gently and clearly. Feel your energy even out, grounding and vibrant. Alright? Okay, and as you're ready, we can go ahead and start moving into the meditation. For this meditation, go ahead and sit in silence. And you can close your eyes if you like, or keep them open, or however you feel appropriate. Feel the body without judging your energy level. Ask, what is one step I can take today to nourish my path? Sit with this question. No pressure for an answer. Let the space itself be your effort. Whenever you're ready to end this meditation, you can end with the mantra, I am enough. My presence is my power. I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes. So next, I'll go ahead and start to go over the mindfulness homework and integration for this week. First off, we've got a journal prompt, which is, where in my life am I over effort? Where am I under effort? What would balance look like? Next, there is practice. Choose one small thing this week that moves your heart in the right direction. And do it with presence. A 5-minute stretch, a kind word, a nourishing meal, or a mindful task. The third thing for the mindfulness homework this week is energy check ritual. Each evening, place a hand on your belly and ask, did I honor my energy today? Did I apply effort with love? All right. Next, I'll go ahead and move to our Reiki healing of the mind for this week. This week's message is, today is a gift. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And you can go ahead and read it there. Okay. just show you guys a little bit about the office here at Lotus Wellness Temple. Alright. And for final blessing, beloveds, right effort is the sacred discipline of showing up, not to force your way into peace, but to flow in rhythm with your truth. May your fire be steady, may your steps be soft, may your energy serve your highest good. Alright? Thank you all for joining me today. For those of you who only came for the service, thank you. Namaste, Satnam. I hope you have a wonderful week. For those of you who are staying for the discussion podcast afterwards, just give us a second. We'll get set up and we'll get started right away. Alright, let's go ahead and get set up. Testing. Alright, it's working. Okay. Alright, let's get our discussion started. So, do you have anything to say on our service this week?
Yeah, it's always good to have a balance whenever you're trying to do anything, because it's so easy to just burn yourself out. We should always strive to be better, but we also have to understand our limits. Certainly, it's good to test our limits, because once we test our limits, and we've reached that breaking point, then oftentimes it can push us to newer heights. So I would say more often than not, it's better to be an overachiever than an underachiever. Because, if you're lazy and don't do anything, it's just, if you have any talents, it could just easily just wither away and you're going to lose it. Because anything requires practice, and whatnot. But if you don't, the old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it,
Right.
So it's always much better to strive for better than to be stagnant,
Yeah, at the same time, it's definitely important to have rest.
and to know like your limits on certain things. I know that some athletes like they get tennis elbow or they get a bad injury while training and they just can't continue because they just work themselves too hard. It's definitely important to have that balance, and overwork is one of the leading causes of death in Japan. It's like you definitely shouldn't push yourself too hard. You should recognize when you're doing more than you should be, and that also includes like recognizing when you're being taken advantage of at work. Like when you're doing all of the work. Like not to say that you can't help out here and there, or like you can't do something that's not your job, but it's still important to recognize, hey, wait, like they're asking way too much of me now. Like I'm doing not only my job, but I'm doing several other jobs that I really shouldn't be doing, because the people who are supposed to be doing them are just putting all their work on me. It's important to just recognize that balance and to be assertive with your boundaries with regards to like when something's too much.
Yeah, and I've said this before that that it's too much work can certainly burn you out, even kill you even. I knew a man older gentleman who literally killed himself by overworking himself. He had a bunch of different jobs just trying to make ends meet, and he just had a stroke and died, and so that's one end of overworking and putting too much effort,
Right.
I mean, there's a reason, that Sabbath is a thing, otherwise if we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're gonna work ourselves into the grave.
Yeah, the human body can only take so much. And like, even in situations where you feel that you have to work to make ends meet to be able to make that money, it's important to also recognize that you don't always have to put everything on yourself. If you're in that kind of situation and there's anyone around you that you can reach out to, even a stranger in some cases, like, if the only person that you can reach out to is somebody you don't know, you can believe sometimes in the kindness of strangers. Don't be ashamed to ask for some help when you need it. I know that people have reached out to me, on occasion, and I've been able to provide some help for people who needed it. And so like, don't ever feel like you're in a position where like you have to do more than you're able to, because that's why there are more people on this planet. It's so that you don't have to do everything.
Yeah, certainly. And on the flip side, I know lots of lazy people, and they're underachievers, don't really bother doing anything at all, and I see the misery in that too, just as much as I see the misery in people who overwork themselves. I see the misery in people who underwork themselves, because those people, they take solace in the little that they might have and just kind of just run with it, but they don't ever really strive for anything better. It's just they just accept it for what it is, and it's really heartbreaking, because I mean, me personally, I've always wanted to strive to be better. I mean, I know I'll never be perfect, but but just like to see people who just kind of wallow in their own grief and just to see somebody just settle for next to nothing and and accept it as okay. Which, I mean, in some cases, if that might be the best thing if we know that we can't change the situation. I mean, everybody's life's different, certainly, but more often than not, though, we do have the power within ourselves to strive to be better, even when we don't have the confidence. And that's the key there is confidence and the will to want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like I personally, I know some people who, or I have known some people who like have, they've kind of accepted something about themselves that, oh, it's never going to get any better. Like, oh, I've tried a few different things already, so like, there's no cure out there for me. There's nothing that's going to help me. There's nothing that's going to make anything better. And like, they become very doubtful of any other opportunities that they have, any other cures or any other therapy or whatever, because they feel like there's just something so wrong with them that it cannot be resolved. That they're somehow inhuman, that they just because like certain therapeutic approaches or certain things that usually work for other people don't work for them, that there isn't one out there, that there's nothing out there, that nobody has any solution to what they're dealing with. And I personally disagree with that. I feel like everything has a solution if you look for it. If you're not always going to be able to find it immediately. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes decades. But I believe that there's something out there for everybody. And that it's worth reaching for.
Yeah, so certainly it's always best to strive for best. Otherwise, we may never know our true potential. I mean, we might very well be capable of some very great things, and sometimes all it takes is for us to tell ourselves, I can do it. More often than not, people are so negative, and they'll say, well, I can't do it. I can't do it. Even if they didn't try, they'll go straight to negative emotions. They tell themselves, I can't do it, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they can't do it because they believe they can't do it.
Right.
And sometimes all it takes is for me to say, well, maybe I tried and it didn't work out this way, so I can try it a different way. Or if it's something that seems overwhelming and you don't think you'll even succeed, sometimes all it takes is just a small step, and then something good ends up happening, or you're able to push yourself past the limits in ways that you didn't even realize was possible. And so it's just being able to just tell yourself I can't, or even just like if you have good friends who can encourage you, That's always good too. It definitely helps when you have a circle of positive people who can tell you, yeah, you got this. And if you have people who can help you, that's even better. They can teach you, or they can help you along the way till you get better. Because certainly nothing was ever accomplished in one day. Certainly, like the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So just that one little step, and when people can help you, then it makes it that much easier.
Right. And I just think it's important to know that just because what you've tried so far hasn't worked, that doesn't mean that nothing will. And it's when you give up on solutions, you stop seeing any sort of progress. Like of any kind. So it's good to just keep looking for solutions, even if you feel like, oh well, I've tried everything. You haven't tried everything. You just tried enough things that you feel exhausted. So give yourself maybe some time to rest, and to come back to yourself, to feel less exhausted, and then start looking again, start trying again. That's what this balance is about. Like, if you feel like you're starting to burn out, if you feel like things are not going the way that you need them to, even though you're trying, give yourself some time to rest. Maybe it's time to be patient. Maybe it's time to let some stuff come to you, because sometimes in life, we don't find everything by searching for it. Sometimes it has to come to us. Sometimes when we're patient, when we're receptive to things, we come across opportunities that we never would have noticed when we were so busy focusing on doing and acting. So yeah, it's just that kind of balance, that dance of life. Sometimes you have to make space for something to come your way. And that's really what right effort's all about. It's about making way for the things that are coming for you and acting when it's time to act.
Yeah, and I will say that if the balance is extremely important, So we have to know the what's too much for us, and we have to know what's too little for us, because it goes with anything. Too much of anything is bad, but also too little of anything is bad too. And so we have to sometimes it requires a little bit of compromise or a little bit of sacrifice. But in the end, we do have to put in that effort, and even if we get ourselves in a funk, it's a lot of times it's real easy for us to put in too little effort when we get sad and depressed, and we get so discouraged that we don't know what to do. We just feel lost because we don't understand what is good for us, what our mission in life might be, whatever. And so it's so easy to get burnt out, so much so that we just give up, and then we just stop bothering to try, so definitely, we have to try to find a good middle ground, so we're not hurting ourselves and others from either extreme.
Right. But yeah, it's all about keeping that balance and, just recognizing that it's not over until you stop trying. Nothing's ever over until you stop. And even if you're not acting all the time, it doesn't mean that you've given up. Sometimes you need a break, and a break can be just what you need to get to that next step. So, just recognize when you need to step away and when you need to step back into it, when you need to start trying again. Because we shouldn't stay stagnant in either direction. There are times when we should move, and there are times when we should stop. But there's never really a time when we should just continue on in one way and get stuck in that.
Yeah, unless it's not too late until you're dead. That's really the bottom line of it. Until you're dead, it's never too late. So even if we give up, some later down the line, you might say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to try again, and I'm going to do things differently. And so, even if you're on hard times and you can't accomplish what you wanted to do, there's nothing saying you can't go back to what you want to do, sometime later. So certainly, it's never too late. It's never too late to give it another shot. If there's something in your life you wanted to do and you felt like it was the end of the world because you didn't do it. Well, until you're dead, it's never really too late.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's right effort. I think we've covered, pretty much what it's about. Unless you have anything else to add?
No, I say we covered it pretty well.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this discussion. Namaste and Satnam to you. You guys have a wonderful week. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.